Hello, my name is John Ventre and I'm running for governor of Pennsylvania. So who's John Ventre? That's what I'm going to tell you today and what my platform is. You probably haven't heard about me because the mainstream media basically just covers the elected officials that are out there, the state reps, the senators, the other people that have already held office. So this may be the first time you're hearing about John Ventre. But I got news for them. The person that wins this debate this election is going to be somebody that's a patriot candidate. It's going to be a surprise winner because the people of Pennsylvania, I think they're tired of the type of candidates and the weak Republican leadership that we have. If you look at what the Democrats have done, the Democrats have gotten rid of the moderates and they have installed all far left, progressive, or regressive candidates, but the Republicans haven't cleaned their party out yet. And I think that's what you're going to see happening. We're going to elect candidates that are more to the right, far right, patriot candidates, Tea Party candidates, and that's what you'll see happening in the future because we're a split country right now, and you can't have the moderate and you can't have them negotiating with the left. It's all or nothing until we can settle this, and I think in the near future that's the way it's going to be. Also in the area of Act 77, that bill, mail-in ballots, was passed by our legislators and our senators in Pennsylvania. There's 3, 4, maybe even 5 of them that are going to be running in this race. In my mind, it was the worst legislation that a Republican could have passed, and they voted for it. They cost Donald Trump the Pennsylvania election. In my mind, those senators, those elected officials that are running, who get all of the press and all the attention, they disqualified themselves, and they should not only be not running for governor, they should not be reelected as to their position as a senator, let's say, when they're up for reelection. I believe they've disqualified themselves for voting for the single worst piece of legislation that Pennsylvania could have put out there. You know, I view them as arsonists who then want to be the first responder on the scene of the fire. Well, you can't be both, and you're going to be held responsible for what you did with Act 77. Right now you have 3 types of candidates. You have your elected official who just, he wants more power, more money, more authority, those type of candidates. Then you have your Romney rhinos that are middle left, and they want to negotiate with the middle and cut deals with the left, but they never ever ask back for what they've given up. And that's the problem. The left keeps taking our rights, and we don't ever ask for them back or demand them back. And when we're in power and win the full elections, we don't seem to do anything. We're status quo. We don't seem to want to shake things up to cause waves because we're afraid of losing. I'm not afraid of losing, and I know what I'm going to do, and we're going to do what's right for this state. And your third type of candidate is like me. It's the patriot. It's our militia, it's our Tea Party candidate, it's our right-leaning candidate, our far-right candidate. That's who I am, and that's who I believe is going to win this election. So let's take a look at who John is, and if you take a look at my campaign card, the front is about me, the back will be about my stances and policies. But let's take a look at the front of the card right now. So, who is John Ventre? I'm a retired executive from UPS. I was in charge of security, public affairs, the crisis management team. I had all the airports, the cargo areas for Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia. So it was a huge position, an executive position. I'm used to large territories, extended areas, and people. And to me, managing is what I do best. And the governor is an executive. You want to elect someone with executive experience. So I believe I'm the best candidate for that because I am an executive, and that's what the governor position is. I also, 2 years ago, to help President Trump, I started publishing a newsletter called Never Socialist, and I still put that out once a week. I also gave it some thought, and I created 2 years ago a website that's Never Socialist USA, and that website recruits Asians and Hispanics to the Republican Party, and Democrats that want to switch to Republican. So those are my two websites, voteforventre.com, which is my campaign, and neversocialistusa.org would be the one to recruit Asians and Hispanics to the Republican Party. You know, as an executive, if you look at my resume, you see that I have all of the things that you would expect an executive to have as far as boards and charities. I was on the board of Juvenile Diabetes in Pittsburgh for 7 years. I was on the board of the Westmoreland Economic Growth Connection for 7 years. I was a member of the FBI's InfraGuard Group, Homeland Security's Business Coalition. I was a Rotary Club president for 7 years, a United Way Tocqueville Society member for charitable giving, a lifetime NRA and Firearm Owners Against Crime member, elected committee member. I'm a part-time author, actor, and the only reason I mention that is that it highlights my creativity. I'm hugely creative, and you'll see that in my plan. And creativity is something you do not get with politicians. You do not get creativity. And I know I'm the most creative among this group. And I have the executive experience that the position requires. I also go to 3 churches. And, you know, people say, why? I contribute to 3. I like the sermons. I like going to church. I belong to 3 different churches. I'm pro-God, I'm pro-gun, I'm pro-Constitution, I'm pro-freedom, and I'm pro the militia. I think the militia, the original Minutemen in Lexington and Concord, they're the true Americans that are fighting for this country. And I'm pro-militia, and I don't think any other governor candidate will come out and say that, but they're the true Americans. So now let's take a look at the backside of my campaign card, and let's talk about my plan. What's my plan? How are we going to make Pennsylvania great again? So in my plan, the number 1 item that I have to jumpstart the state is to create a business tax cut. I know some of the other candidates are talking about reducing property taxes, sales tax, personal income tax. That's how they buy your vote. That's not how you jumpstart a state. Think about what Trump did. He cut the business tax, and that's what we have to do first. And we're going to have a massive business tax cut because Pennsylvania is the gateway to the Northeast. And those jobs, those people, they want to leave and come here. We want to suck the jobs out of the Northeast, and you do that with a business tax cut. That's how it's done. So I'm going to manage this on 2 levels. And a lot of my plan is not one policy like Governor Wolf's scorched earth Philadelphia policy that was good for the entire state. That's not how I'm going to manage, because Philadelphia is completely different than Punxsutawney, Sharon, PA, Mount Pleasant, PA. This is a very diverse state. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the business tax in Southeast PA 30% from 9.9 to 7%. Then the rest of the state will be cut 50% from 9.9 to 5%. Because they're not doing as well and they need more help. And that will help them draw businesses out of the Northeast. And I think when you increase the revenue like that and you can bring the businesses in, everything else will follow. We're going to then look at everything else. Then we will look at the property taxes and the personal income tax. But take registrations, your car, your boat, your trailer, your snowmobile. Why do you have to register that every year and pay a $26 fee? The processing alone is half of that fee. So we're going to have you register it one time when you buy it. Then you sell it and the new owner registers it. We're going to get rid of that yearly fee, and then we're going to get rid of the employees that process that, and we're going to cut our size of the government back 5%. All departments, not state police, all departments will have to cut back 5%. We have a $40 billion budget. I will not sign anything that's over $38 billion. So we want a 5% reduction. We have to reduce the tolls and the fuel tax by 30% because it's the highest and second highest in the country. We're going to reduce the size of our government also, the number of legislators and senators we have. We currently have a total of 253. What I propose is 1 per county, 67 state reps. Now, even if they have to reduce themselves, but even if it's more than that, it's 100, let's say, it's better than 203. But my plan, the direction I'm going in, would be to have 1 state rep per county. And then instead of having 50 senators, we would have 17 senators, and that lines up with the congressional map, the federal congressional map across the state of 17. So we would go to 67 state reps and 17 senators, which is a total of 84 instead of 253. I want to make Election Day a holiday so you can go out and vote, because you don't need mail-in ballots, but you do need to be off that day so you can show up in the poll. We're going to increase election workers' pay in the areas that they are paid. There are some areas that they're all volunteers. The one thing that should have been done right away was to clean up the inactive voter rolls. We had 800,000 inactive voters before our Republicans passed mail-in ballots. That should have been cleaned up prior to any legislation to change the way we vote. So we have 800,000. That will be cleaned up twice a year. That list will be maintained and cleaned up. Then you have election integrity. What we just had in 2020 with the presidential race was not election integrity. It was a huge mistake to pass Act 77, and those legislators and senators need to be held accountable for that. But we're going to return to voter ID, because secure voting is more important than easy voting. And if that's Election Day is a holiday, a state holiday, you can go and vote. Voter harvesting, ballot harvesting will be illegal, but I will allow a spouse or a child to drop off the vote for their parent or their spouse. That's the only person that can drop off a voting ballot, let's say. So I've talked about restructuring and I've talked about financial. You have to keep in mind that Pennsylvania is the 15th highest tax state in the country. We're 46th in population growth, and we're 42nd in business growth. That's why I say we need a business tax cut to jumpstart the state. In the area of education, I think Governor Wolf has showed us with his mask mandates and trying to bully our children that the public education system does not work the way it did when we went to school. So we're going to have school vouchers where you can decide to go to the private school, the Catholic school, the Jewish school, the Protestant school, whatever school you want, and your school tax money will then go to that school. And that's how that will work. So there'll be less public schools. You won't have to build new public schools. And, let's face it, the teachers union is a super PAC or Democrats. That's who they are. So there will be less of those union teachers that way. But I think you need school choice, and that's what I'm for, and we're going to do that. And in these schools, we're going to display In God We Trust. We're going to incite the Pledge of Allegiance every day. Patriotic education is what's going to be taught. 1776 education is what will be taught. Critical race theory and hateful 1619 theory will not be taught, because it's not the truth about the founding of this country. And the creative way that my mind works is when I look at that, I say, what could we teach to counter that way of thinking? And to me, it's to teach creation. And people said, well, you can't teach creation. So I looked it up. Yeah, you can. There's 14 states that fund schools that teach creation. Now, the way I want to teach is creation science. I want to teach apologetics and creation science behind a young earth and creation and a biblical flood, and then explain scientifically why that's the truth. And it's not billions of years and evolution is not true. I don't believe in evolution, I believe in creation. But teach both and let the students in their minds decide which one that they believe, and then reason through it. Why it's possible. They may decide, well, maybe it's a combination of both. But you got to let them think. I also want to remove race and gender from all applications, employment applications, college applications. I think the identity politics of the left has caused so many problems, and what we need to do is get to a merit system where we don't judge you by the color of your skin. Dr. Martin Luther King, judge me on the content of my character and my accomplishments. That's what we should be following, and I'm going to follow the recommendations of Dr. Martin Luther King. But I think that's what we need to put into our schools. As far as social media goes, we've all been censored and shadow banned. My entire campaign right now is shadow banned by Facebook. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what Texas did. We're going to make social media, we're going to designate them as common carriers so they cannot discriminate. Common carriers cannot discriminate, and that's how social media will be designated. Cancel culture, again, what is that? Cancel culture is cyberbullying. You know, the left complains about bullying in schools, bullying, but yet they are the number one behind the cyberbullying of people. And so what we're going to do with that is when you move beyond free speech and you start going to someone's house, contacting the employer, you now open yourself up to harassment. That's how we're going to handle that. You open yourself up to harassment. You know, you would think also that every mother, every female would be very upset about their daughter competing against genetic males in sports competition. So we're going to go back to birth certificate gender, and that's when you compete in sports is who can play on one team and who can play on the other team. In the area of welfare, we're going to limit welfare to 6 years for the child and 10 total years for the mother. So having 5, 6, 7, 8 kids and getting more and more money is not the way welfare is going to work. You're limited to a total of 10 years for the mother, and it's meant for you to go find a job after that, and that's the way that should be. Instead of going generation to generation to generation on welfare where you never really work. That's not what America's about. In the area of energy, I support oil, gas, coal, and there's not going to be subsidies for wind and solar. Pennsylvania is maybe the second largest in the country for oil, gas, and coal, and that's what we need to produce. That's how you jumpstart the economy with jobs. That's how we're going to do it. I also want to add that, you know, with the identity politics and the cancel culture, I would tell you, look at the back of a $1 bill. You know, what do you have in the right corner, right? It said you have the Betsy Ross 13-star flag, which is not racist, right? But you also have a little slogan there that says E pluribus unum, from many one. Identity politics divides us. And we can never resolve that because we're not the same. It divides us. So from many one, my policies create one state where it's not based on skin color. But the bottom line for me is that I bring executive experience to the job, and the governor is an executive position. I am hugely creative. You see that in my plan. So go to my 2 websites for my campaign. It's voteforventre.com, and then to recruit Asians, Hispanics, and Democrats that want to change parties, you go to neversocialistusa.com. So that's who John Ventre is. That's my plan to be governor, and I plan to win. Please vote V for Ventre, V for victory, so you can be on the winning team. Thank you.